I said turn around, put your hands behind your back.
On what charges, officer?
You're being detained for obstruction.
I want it on your body cam that I am Magistrate Judge Robert Franklin. You are violating my Fourth Amendment rights.
A peaceful afternoon at the public library turned into a $2 million nightmare for one city when a police officer made the worst mistake of his career. The entire incident was recorded on his own body cam, capturing every word, every assumption, and every unlawful move he made. What the officer didn't know was that the black man he was harassing wasn't just any citizen. He was a magistrate judge who knew every single law the officer was about to break. And by the time the officer realized his mistake, it was already too late. Before we continue, where are you watching from? If you enjoy stories about justice being served, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow, and I sincerely appreciate your support. The day started like any other Saturday afternoon. Judge Robert Franklin was at the Eastside Public Library with his 5-year-old granddaughter, Emma. She wore a bright pink jacket and was giggling as she flipped through a picture book about dinosaurs. Robert sat next to her at one of the small tables in the children's section, helping her sound out words she didn't recognize. He had a small backpack next to him with snacks, water bottles, and a few more books they had picked out to take home. Robert was 62 years old and had served as a magistrate judge for over 15 years. Before that, he spent 20 years as a civil rights attorney. He knew the law better than most people knew their own names. But on this particular day, he wasn't dressed in his judicial robes. He wore jeans, a simple blue sweater, and sneakers. To anyone passing by, he looked like what he was, a grandparent spending quality time with his granddaughter. Officer Kevin Schultz was driving past the library when he decided to stop in. Later, he would claim he was doing a routine community check. The truth, captured on his body cam, would tell a different story. Schultz had been with the police department for 8 years and had 12 complaints filed against him for racial profiling. None of those complaints had resulted in serious discipline. He felt untouchable. Schultz walked into the library. His body cam was already recording, as department policy required it to be on during all public interactions. He nodded at the librarian at the front desk and walked toward the children's section. His eyes scanned the area and landed on Robert sitting with Emma. His hand rested on his belt near his weapon. His face showed no warmth, no courtesy, just suspicion. Robert noticed the officer approaching, but didn't react. He had dealt with situations like this before, though never while babysitting his granddaughter. He continued helping Emma with her book, keeping the officer in his peripheral vision. Schultz stopped a few feet from their table. He didn't greet Robert or introduce himself properly. Instead, his first words were a question. "What are you doing here?" Robert looked up from the book. His expression stayed neutral and polite. He had trained himself over decades to never show anger or frustration in moments like this, even when every fiber of his being wanted to. "I'm reading with my granddaughter," Robert said simply, gesturing to Emma and the books spread across their table. Schultz looked at Emma, then back at Robert. His eyes narrowed slightly. "That's your granddaughter?" "Yes, she is." "Where are her parents?" Robert could have asked why that mattered. He could have asked why the officer was questioning him at all. But he knew exactly where this was going, and he decided to let it play out. Every answer he gave would be measured, legally sound, and impossible to twist. "Her mother, my daughter, is at a work conference. I'm babysitting for the weekend." Several other library patrons had started to notice the interaction. An elderly woman reading in a nearby chair looked over her glasses at them. A mother with 2 young children paused on her way to the checkout desk. Schultz shifted his weight. "Do you have any identification on you?" This was the first illegal request. Robert knew that unless an officer has reasonable suspicion that someone is involved in criminal activity, they cannot demand identification. Sitting in a library, reading with a child is not criminal activity, but Robert also knew that refusing might escalate the situation with his granddaughter present.